Curriculum directors face two competing pressures. State mandates require comprehensive coverage of diverse global civilizations, while testing guidelines and constitutional law demand academic neutrality and rigorous standards alignment. Districts have to balance this statutory compliance on one side against academic breadth on the other. A failure to satisfy either side halts the adoption process. MLS Publishing engineered the How the World Works series to resolve this exact tension for public and charter school classrooms. This map illustrates the geographic scope of the series. Students analyze 4 specific historical regions: Al-Andalus, Mali, Malacca, and Aksum, tracking the complex trait networks that connected them. The program maintains neutrality by treating these civilizations as case studies in engineering and economics, rather than theology. To evaluate its readiness for public adoption, we will run the curriculum through a 4-part alignment audit, examining its statutory neutrality, framework rigor, student differentiation, and vertical pipeline. This method treats social studies as a laboratory for human problem-solving, equipping students to analyze historical infrastructure instead of simply memorizing dates. Audit Check 1 focuses on the Establishment Clause. Publicly funded materials require verifiable academic and religious neutrality. Every text in the series is labeled as the Public School Edition, carrying this explicit disclaimer. This curriculum examines historical civilizations through geography, trade, innovation. It does not promote religious belief or religious practice. The curriculum avoids instruction as practice. Geography serves as the mandatory starting point for analyzing how each society functioned. This unit header demonstrates the approach. The study of Al-Andalus centers on physical infrastructure, directing students to analyze acequias, specialized water channels, and the region's position on the Mediterranean coast as economic drivers. Similarly, the Aksum unit asks students to calculate how a single kingdom engineered a supply chain that bridged a hot Red Sea port and a cool high-altitude plateau. Bypassing theological history in favor of systems thinking ensures the material remains fact-based and objectively measurable for district safety. By prioritizing environmental challenges and the infrastructure built to solve them, the curriculum operates within the bounds of constitutional requirements. Audit Check 2 measures the verifiable alignment to the C3 framework, Common Core literacy, and national geography standards. The teacher manual explicitly maps daily lessons to specific targets, providing direct codes for C3 Geography Dimension 2 and Common Core Reading History standards. Students evaluate primary sources using a rigid 3-columns protocol. They document what a source claims, isolate the evidence backing it, and identify gaps in the record. The curriculum applies technical analysis to historical study. Students examine mud brick architecture in Mali to understand how Sahelian builders used wooden beams to distribute structural load. They then trace the availability of those materials directly back to the physical geography of the Niger floodplain. This requires students to identify the exact mechanism of cause and effect, the point where the geography presented a limitation and a local population invented a solution. The framework standards serve as the operating system for student inquiry, rather than a checklist applied after the fact. Audit Check 3 verifies built-in support for individualized education programs, 504 plans, and English language learners. Every lesson plan integrates specific differentiation notes directly into the teaching sequence, providing immediate modifications for ELL, IEP, and 504 students. Instructors receive precise directives, such as pre-teaching the vocabulary list 24 hours in advance and allowing native language note-taking. For below-grade level readers, the complex systemic analysis is distilled into a single-page graphic organizer. They track a straight line from environmental cause to societal effect to the built system. Providing these explicit tools in the manual reduces the prep time required for modifications, helping ensure consistency across different classrooms. A compliant curriculum guarantees equitable access to the core analytical material for every student. Audit Check 4 tracks the vertical readiness pipeline, preparing students for advanced placement and international baccalaureate pathways. This unit header establishes the Compare the 4 framework. Starting in the elementary grades, students are trained to evaluate multiple civilizations simultaneously through a single analytical lens. By the time students reach the high school edition, they apply this exact same comparative reasoning to complex document-based questions. A student beginning this sequence in grade 4 enters high school already proficient in cross-referencing primary sources and identifying evidentiary gaps. This sequence builds the required analytical mechanics years before the first AP exam, preparing students for the rigors of higher education through consistent practice. The final metric for public adoption is instructional implementation. A curriculum only works if teachers can actually deploy it. Traditional materials often require additional prep to make the content teachable. A systems-based curriculum is designed for immediate execution. The at-a-glance teacher manual condenses the planning load into a 7-step sequence, providing the required standards, vocabulary, discussion prompts, and activities on a single page. Each lesson concludes with an action step. Students locate an equivalent engineering or organizational system functioning in their own local community. The alignment audit yields a clear result. The series delivers neutrality, deep integration of C3 and Common Core frameworks, universal student access, and AP verticality. Districts that adopt a systems approach equip their students to understand the mechanics of the world they inherit.